Welcome to Thieves' Cant, a tabletop gaming podcast with your hosts, Jeremy Shane and Chris White.
Welcome in, welcome back. It is Thieves' Cant, Tuesday, February 24th. Jeremy Shane here.
And I'm Chris White.
Thanks so much for listening. Thanks for subscribing at thievescantcast. You can email thievescantcast@gmail.com. And please consider leaving a 5-star review on your platform of choice. Chris, how are you?
I'm doing great. Survived Monday.
Yeah. Feeling better, I think.
Yeah. It still persists, but I think I'm doing a little better. I don't know if I sound better, but...
We're all going to feel better after today's Lore Vault episode. You left a little tease with us yesterday, Chris, that this is one that'll make us think. So is this the thinking man's Lore Vault?
Not the thinking man's Lore Vault. How about the thinking vermin's Lore Vault?
Ooh, call pest control.
Yeah, because you're going to need them.
All right, to find out what we're talking about, let's crack open the Lore Vault.
I'm going to talk about a creature that I don't know if a lot of people are familiar with. I want to talk about cranium rats today. Are you familiar with cranium rats at all?
I think that's the first time I've ever heard the term cranium rats.
Not familiar. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
This will be exciting.
I like when I'm not familiar, which is generally the case.
Yeah.
Just blissfully ignorant.
That's how I live my life. And so this is just a continuation. So cranium rats introduced in second edition. I believe they were introduced initially in the Planescape setting. I believe that's where I first heard of them. But as far now as the iteration in 5th edition and such, they're basically, the story is, we're all familiar with mind flayers, right?
Right.
Illithids. And they're always doing these crazy experiments because, I guess there's nothing better to do when you're hanging out in the Underdark and, rubbing your hands together evilly.
You tend to get a little obsessive. Mm-hmm. They fixate, right?
They do. And so a little mind flayer creativity, and they decided, the elder brains in particular decided it would be a good idea to take rats, which there are plenty of.
Yeah.
And basically just like flood them with psionic energy and see what happens. This is where we get cranium rats, basically. They look like normal rats, except their little brains have swollen up and kind of popped outside of their heads.
Oh.
So if you look close, you might be like, well, that rat has an exposed brain on top. How strange.
And to get that guy a helmet.
Yeah. And there's nothing particularly special about them in this form. They're a little smarter than the average rat, as one would expect. Well, with a giant wrinkly brain.
Sure. What is the average intelligence of a rat
probably
in D&D?
Well, a 1, maybe a 2. I don't know that for sure. But rats are actually pretty smart, all things considered.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but they're still animals.
But the cranium rat has a slight edge.
Little smarter, right? And that's really about it. They can make their little brain glow. They can produce light out of that.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah. And they actually can telepathically communicate like their very simple thoughts. So it'd be like hungry, scared, whatever it may be. But it's very simple. So the illithids use these cranium rats as spies. Basically, they send them out into the world, whatever cavernous, dark, evil place that they live in, and they can spy on people, or they could send them up to a human community or, an above ground village or wherever it may be.
Yeah. Perfect spy because they are native to the environment. Rats are supposed to be here. Nothing out of the ordinary.
Right.
Unless, of course, you notice the brain thing.
Yeah. Yeah. But, most people aren't looking. It's just a rat.
Right.
So you shoot away. What's interesting about cranium rats, though, is they have another trait. And that is, the more cranium rats that gather together, the smarter they become.
Ah, okay. Here we go.
Yeah. And so if you have a large group of cranium rats, like these things are like geniuses. It's like this super intelligence that starts forming, right? And normally there aren't large groups for whatever reason. but it can happen. The thing is, the illithids have this purpose for them, but I mean, rats wander off, right? And there's only so much range that the elder brain has to dominate and control these things. And so they lose them a lot, but they don't care because there's rats all over the place. So
we can make more.
If we lose more rats, who cares, right? Well, the problem is now we have these infestations of cranium rats. And so this was a really big deal in Sigil. I know some people say Sigil. I'm going to continue to say Sigil until I die.
Let's start another argument.
Yeah, let's do that. But I'm going to say Sigil. So in Sigil, they're a real problem because they're obviously out of the range of the elder brain. Yeah, there's like these huge droves of or I guess you wouldn't call them droves. What would you call it? What's a group of rats? Is that a pack? That sounds good. So, yeah, but basically they're
Hey, I just looked this up. A group of rats is most commonly called a mischief.
A mischief. Well, there you go.
A mischief of rats.
They're a big problem in Sigil. I found an interesting quote. I believe it's from one of the Planescape books. We would deny the god brain, its slaves, but in this last second before your death, deliver one final message to your illithid master. The us is grateful to it for existence. It should relish the waning moments of its own.
Oh.
The us of Sigil. Ah. So, yeah, so these rats, and that's the thing, they are very much a hive mind. So don't think of them so much as individuals. Physically they are, but they refer to themselves as us, the we. Yeah, and you can only imagine, right? I mean, you have these tainted by dark powers and this super intelligence. So you really start thinking about how could we use these things? I mean, again, in small groups, you wouldn't pay any attention to them. But imagine, I mean, these creatures are intelligent enough and cooperative enough. You could actually have a dungeon built by rats. So essentially, now your players are the ones in the maze. Now you're the ones chasing the cheese, right? So, just a kind of an interesting little creature. I think there's a lot you could do with them. Certainly some interesting encounters. And, of course, you could have them working for any big, bad, evil guy who could take control of the group. And as spies, they work wonderfully. There's a lot of suggestions in some of the books for items that can be created using them. Some disturbingly descriptive ways of describing their taste if you cook them right. And what can tell, they're a little greasy, but a much richer flavor than a traditional rat. So if you're a rat connoisseur, this is the pinnacle.
You can note the difference.
Yeah, but if you don't mind eating intelligent things, I guess. But sure, yeah, sure. So they're.
Could you have a cranium rat familiar?
Yes, you can actually. Ooh, that is there are rules for that. I don't know. I believe 5th edition has rules, but I know there are rules that exist for that because obviously this would be fun. But it's even more fun if you can invite 20 of their cousins, and then you got a real party.
Right.
So and they do eventually gain the ability to like cast psionic spells. I mean, they're a power when they're all together. It kind of gets the juices flowing to think about, what could we do with a creature like this? And I really like things that work in this way. So. Yeah.
And that's the question that I suppose we'll leave you with today. How would you incorporate the cranium rat? Maybe you have experience using the cranium rat. We'd love the details. We'd love to know how that experience played out. You can drop a note in the comments, or you can email thievescantcast@gmail.com. Cranium rat kind of gives a whole new meaning to Pinky and the Brain.
Yeah, there you go. Right. Exactly.
All right, thanks for the deep dive in today's Lore Vault, and thanks to you for listening. We'll see you tomorrow as we re-enter the Forge of Creation. We're going to put another layer of paint on our heist scenario, right? We know what's in the vault. Now we've got to find out exactly where the vault is. What is the environment? So
working our way inside out.
Till then, thank you so much for listening. It's been Thieves Cant. I'm Jeremy Shane.
And I'm Chris White.
So long.
Thank you for listening to Thieves Cant. Email thievescantcast@gmail.com.